All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? This week we're going to start on chipper operator specialists out of our book. Kind of goes hand in hand with the chainsaw and tree care specialist that's coming up next week. So chipper operator, week of February 22nd. Kind of similar, same as last week. Got a new platform here, Chipp trying to make sure it's right. And I'm going to kind of go through the book as well as I'm going through the notes. There is the quiz in the back of this one as well. This one's not quite as bad as the chainsaw specialist one. If you've started that one already, hopefully you have. And I'll highlight a few of those questions as we go through. Keep in mind, if you haven't started looking at these things, some of them are a little tricky. Kind of pay attention to some of the answers and the questions, the way they're written. They can trip you up. Not all of them are that way, but they do have a couple of them that are like that. So just be careful as you're going through that. And like I say, I'll point some of those things out as we go through. Okay, a little bit of background information. Tow behind chippers were introduced in the 1950s. So they've been around for quite a while. Complacency has led to tree worker injury and deaths. That seems to be the norm for a lot of injuries as well. Not just chippers, not just trees. The more you get complacent, the more overconfident that you get, all those types of things play into the safety aspect. You get overconfident, you're not paying attention to the small things. That's when accidents happen. 33 people have died in a wood chipper related accident in the 10-year span, 1992 to 2002. This is all out of your book stuff. We're going through the book. So this is out of that book. Towing and backing chippers causes the highest frequency of property damage accidents. Towing and backing them up, we practice the towing in the trailer. We all know that it takes a little bit getting used to. Same thing with a chipper back there. A chipper is a little different than your trailer. It is harder to see. It is a little bit narrower from the back of your vehicle, so you might not be able to see it as you're looking around or behind you, that type of thing. So you do need help when you're backing up a chipper. We'll go through a little bit of that throughout the course of this lecture, this book as well. Pay attention to a couple of these words here. The word shall, used in discussing some requirement, must take it to mean a mandatory requirement. Okay, pay attention to that. And the word should, as used in this manual, is an advisory recommendation. So if it says shall, it's mandatory. If it should, it's an advisory recommendation. Okay, pay attention to the next one as well. The most authoritative source for arborist safe work practices is the most recent revision of the American National Standard for Arboriculture Operations, the ANSI Z133.1. I wouldn't say you need to memorize the ANSI Z1331-.1, but you need to memorize that for a test question. So memorize that aspect of what it is, and they refer to it a few times in this book. So you will need to know that that is the authoritative source for the work practices in the chipper world. Okay, what types of chippers are there? There's 3 types of chippers. Okay, there's 3 types of chippers: rotary drum, disc chipper, and a mechanical drum chipper. Okay, a rotary drum chipper, say that 3 times fast, feeds the brush directly into the cutters, okay? Its design has been around the longest, and it's ideal for smaller diameter branches. They're just trying to give you a little bit of working. Okay. That's a bummer. Let's see. Let's see what I can do here. Need to get out of that. Okay. Let's see. Rotary drum chipper. See if that had that on there. CI Chipp Max. Portable chip. All right, let's see. I can bring this one up. All right, so rotary drum, he's feeding it in. Okay, I don't know how big that is, 10 inches maybe at most. Let's see how he's feeding that in. Has the drum there in the middle of it, right? And he's feeding that in to the chipper. Okay. Disc chipper uses hydraulic power feed wheels to pull brush into the cutting flywheel that has knives mounting on it. Okay. So let's see if we can get bandit model. Disc chipper. Okay. So disc chipper. So how he's pulling it in, it's not feeding. If there's the rotating wheel is not on there, and it's pulling it in there, right? So you're feeding it in there, you're pushing that brush in there, and it's pulling it in as it's coming through there. And you can kind of see from that last little one, maybe right here, if I can pause it and you see it, won't pause it, not a good picture, but the discs are in there. There's discs and not necessarily that rotary drum that you see here, that big drum, okay? Mechanical drum tripper uses hydraulic power feed wheels to pull the brush into a spinning drum with knives mounted on it, okay? So let's see if I can bring that one up. Mechanical drum tripper. That one's not coming up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so see how that one's pulling the feed wheels in, the drum is on the inside there, and then it has the bed knives on there. Okay, so this one's pulling it in. It's similar, same as this one, but that drum is on the exterior, you see, so you don't want to necessarily be right up on that thing and feeding it in manually, right? You want to be able to when you're feeding it in manually, this thing is enclosed, it's up further away, it's pulling it into that chipper. Similar same where you have this chipper here, it's pulling it in, that mechanical arm is inside of that chipper doing the work, not on the exterior. So as it is on the exterior of this one, you know, you want to feed it in with something different because that's what's going to keep you safe on that aspect. Okay. So let's continue back here. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. Rotary drum, disc chipper, mechanical drum chipper. Main differences, rotary drums, you're going to feed it in. Disc chipper, it's going to pull that brush into it, and you're going to feed it in there as well. Mechanical drum uses the hydraulic feed wheels, which is like that conveyor belt that's going to pull it in, and it's going to pull it more into that inside protected area of the chipper. So as a user, per the Z131.1 rule book, we're going to remember that, but you got to pay attention to the wording. The chipper shall be maintained with manufacturer's safety devices, instructions, decals, and other safeguards, and workers using them shall follow instructions provided by manufacturers. Okay, rotor drum chippers not equipped with a mechanical infeed system are equipped with an infeed hopper not less than 85 inches measured from the blade or knives to the ground level over the center line of the hopper. Okay, so there's a distance that it has to be in order for it to be safe. Okay, that's basically what it's saying. But pay attention to what it's also saying, because test question. Okay, helping you out here. Kind of going through some of these three here, test questions. So kind of refer back to them. The danger signal word, which we all know, danger, warning, caution, all those types of things. Danger indicates a hazardous situation that if not avoided, it will result in death or serious injury. Okay. Just some important safety things. This is out of the book as well. A couple things, right? You have to have your protective equipment. Use your eye and your ear protection. Don't forget the hard hat, the gloves, and the long sleeve shirt. Okay. Not a face shield. Eye protection, ear protection. Okay. No hands or feet in the chute. And use your stick to push the feed and to feed in the small stuff. Okay. Don't use gauntlet style gloves. As you can see in the picture, it can get caught and you pull that in where it pulls your hand in. You may get lucky and it pull your glove off, but it pull your hand in. That's what you don't want. So no loose fitting clothes, all those types of things. So when the brush on a disc chipper, the brush, when it pulls it in, it'll swing to the left. So when you're chipping things, you don't stand directly behind the chipper, you stand off to the side. So what this is saying, when you are chipping from the curb, you want to stand on the curb side, not the left side. Two reasons. Number one, it swings the brush that way. And number two, you're out in the traffic. Okay. Even though you have cones out, which according to the diagram, still even you're more dangerous on that side. And then when it pulls it in, it's going to swing it to your side anyhow. Okay. A couple important safety things to pay attention to there. All right, now we're getting ready to chip. Chipper inspection. Okay, according to that ANSI Z133 it says pre and post trip inspections of vehicles and mobile equipment shall be made in accordance with manufacturers and owners' instructions and applicable federal motor safety requirements, state and local requirements. Okay. Before you start your inspection, remove the key from the ignition and make sure all moving parts of the chipper are at rest or locked into place. And why do you do that, right? Remove the key, make sure everything's stabilized. You know, it is a mechanical piece of equipment. Anything can move still, can settle down, can rotate, whatever that case may be. So if there's a wheel, meaning your chipper wheels, you need to block them. Make sure that they're not, make sure that they don't rotate once you want to do the inspection, or that machine moves a little bit and then they rotate, whatever the case may be, right? So you need to remove the key. That's the thing with the chipper. Make sure that key's out, put it in your pocket, whatever the case may be, okay? Hooking up the chipper, always get help when you have to hook up the chipper to the tow vehicle. Never stand between the chipper and the truck when the truck is being backed, okay? Going back to the previous slides, you know, that was a lot of the dangers, right? That was a lot of the injuries. That was a lot of the accidents, was when you're hooking up and towing that vehicle, right? So that's part of it, okay? A couple other things when you're hooking it up. Make sure the tow chipper, I'm going through the book here. I didn't put all these on here, but just trying to highlight some of the important ones. The important ones that are test related are on the slide, but some of the other ones, you know, don't stand on the tongue to force it on the coupling. That's not proper. You don't need to do that. If it's not fitting right, you need to figure out why it's not fitting right, which goes into the, you know, make sure the chipper and the tow receiver are the same thing. Okay, make sure they're compatible. If you got a 2-inch, if you got a 2-inch coupler, you need a 2-inch ball. All those types of things, make sure that they are. So trying to put that 2-inch coupler on the 2.5-inch ball, you standing on the tongue of it, not the way to get it on there, right? Make sure that it's the right compatibility in order to fit properly. Make sure you don't exceed the rated capacity of the hitch or the gross vehicle weight, which is something that we talked about in week 2. You know, the chipper has a weight associated with it. Check it with the truck. Make sure your truck is able to pull it. Be sure the vehicle hitch is at the height to keep the chipper level, right? We talked about that too. You don't want your hitch too high, so your piece of equipment riding down the road is like that, right? You want your piece of equipment nice and level. So you need to make sure that the hitch on there is at a good height. And then always hook your safety chains, right? Okay, driving and backing with the chipper. Remember pulling the trailer weighting. Trailer weighing several thousand pounds will increase the time and distance it takes to stop. Okay, pay attention to this. This is a little tricky. Just flip back and forth, trying to make sure you get it right on the quiz here. So a car can or a pickup you drive to work needs a 3-second space cushion on a low speed road. Okay, so your average car, your average pickup needs a 3-second space cushion on a low speed road. A truck with no trailer needs 4 seconds, right? So a larger dump truck, landscape body truck, those types of things needs 4 seconds. So a tractor trailer or a truck with a heavy trailer needs 5 seconds. Okay, so if you're taking a tractor trailer along with a trailer behind it, a truck with a tractor trailer, or a truck with a trailer, all those things, it's 5 seconds. Okay, so you got 3, 4, and 5 seconds depending on what you're driving. Okay. Be careful on that one. It's a little tricky, but you got it. You can figure it out. Backing up, one of the most speed types of accidents with chippers occurs when someone attempts to back into a position without a spotter, right? Stop if you lose sight of the spotter, and the spotter should have eye contact with the driver at all times, right? So you're looking in the rear view mirror, in the side mirrors, whatever the case may be, you're trying to get that that one-on-one contact as you're trying to back up that person. If he can't see you, you can't see them, vice versa, right? So you just need to, if you lose sighting of them, you need to stop, figure out where the spotter's at, and continue on. All right, so setting up and positioning the chipper. Proper placement puts the chipper as close to the work as possible, but keeps both the operator and the machine out of harm's way. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's you're not dragging brush 18 miles down the road, but at the end of the day too, you can't be right on the work site. You know, it needs to be far enough away so that you have enough room to work, you have enough room to still work for your trees, fall your trees, whatever the case is, right? You still need enough room. Okay, so your chipper work area. Talked about work areas with chainsaws last week. Similar, same type of idea behind these, right? So your chipper work area, right behind and usually to the right or curved side for the chipper. Okay, so it's right behind. If you're dropping the trees, it's on the curb, it's on the right side. Okay, this is where the workers will stage your brush. Okay, keep enough space before feeding the chipper. So if your chipper is here, you're behind them, you're to the right, you're on the curb side of the chipper before you feed for where you're staging your brush piles. Okay, minimize trips and falls while dragging brush. Keep the chipper close to the work tree area. Okay, so the further you have to pull the stuff, whatever the case is, the dirtier it gets, the more untidy that it becomes, more slips, trips, and falls happen. If it's too close, you can be struck by a falling tree or a misplaced tool. So that's what I was saying earlier. Not too far, not too close. Too far is probably better than too close. But, you know, you need that happy balance, okay? Take precautions from hazards from outside the work area. Eliminate the hazards. What are those? Those are people passing by, right? Those are that's that type of thought. The traffic, all those types of things. You always keep your chipper hooked up to your tow vehicle. Okay, chock the wheels of the vehicle if it's unattended, and chock the wheels of the chipper if it's detached. Okay, very rarely would you detach your chipper and operate your chipper because there's a lot of power behind one of those tow behind chippers that if it's not hitched up to a truck, it's gonna vibrate and move all over the place. They have chutes on them. You can turn your chute. So if you don't want to put your wood chippings directly in the back of your truck and you want to put your wood chippings in the woods, you know, you pull your truck up to that area with the chipper behind it, making it level, making it a good, solid, safe space, and you turn the chute to where you want it to go. But ideally, the chipper is always hooked up to the tow vehicle. Keep your area cleaned and raked for reducing your slips, trips, and falls. Chipper must be considered energized if it is hooked to an aerial device that contacts an energized conductor. Okay, pay attention to that one. That one's on there as well. Okay, temporary traffic control. Tree care operators, before your crew can get to work, even before it can do its hazard assessment and hold its job briefing, you have to establish control of pedestrian and vehicular traffic around the job site. Okay, so once you pull up to the job, you get out of your vehicle, you need to handle the pedestrian and the vehicular traffic with cones, whatever that is. If you have to pull to the side of the road, you know, you need to face the traffic flow. Okay, that's the rule of thumb. Don't pull up to the job site, get out of the truck, walk around, see the tree, you know, mess around on that aspect. You need to go ahead and take care of the traffic and the pedestrian aspects right then and there. Then go do your site inspections and get your crew, all of its assignments, all that type of stuff. So when your vehicle or work area impact vehicular traffic, you need to employ temporary traffic control zones. Measures conforming to the U.S. Department of Transportation manual on uniform traffic control devices. Okay, so there's standards that you have to abide by when you are doing traffic control. Okay, so that's what this is saying. not going to get into that aspect of, the traffic control. Know the answer to the question, which is what is stated. But really, when you're on the job site and you have to do traffic control, I mean, unless you were really on a major highway, doing some things, a busy road, those types of things where you would really have a major traffic issue, it's more just securing that area. Most of the type of stuff that we do in the landscape business is going to be in a neighborhood, in an apartment complex, on a commercial site, all those types of things where you might be on a side road, those types of things to cut this tree for a small period of time, but you're not really setting up on a major highways or a main 2-lane road, whatever the case may be. Usually when what those things are more geared towards, and you really understanding that traffic control aspect would be, the guys doing the power line stuff on the sides of the roads. Those guys really need to pay attention to the traffic control and the laws associated with it. Okay, for our sake, for the sake of for this class, just understand that there are temporary traffic control zones, and they are conforming to a U.S. Department of Transportation. Okay, so they're real things. Drop zone. We learned about drop zone a little bit last week too. So that's the area under or around a tree or an aerial lift where there is an increased risk of being struck by something that is falling or being dropped. Okay, so you don't want to set up in that drop zone, right? You want to set up outside of that drop zone for your chipper. Okay. All right, running the chipper. Before you even start the chipper, talk about running it, but before you even start it, these are the things you have to do. Pay attention. I think you got to know at least 3 of them. The clutch is disengaged. The chip discharge chute is clear and pointed in the safe direction. The chipper hood lock pin and hood bolts are secured. The in-feed hopper is free of tools or foreign objects. The feed bar is in neutral. Personnel are clear of the machine, and personnel are wearing appropriate PPE. Okay, so these are all kind of, I want to say common sense, because common isn't common to everybody. Okay, so these are the types of things that you would do before you started your vehicle, right? I mean, your parking brake is on, the thing is in park, the doors are closed, right? All those types of things are what you would normally do. A chipper is the same aspect, right? The clutch being engaged, as soon as you start that chipper, it's going to start spinning. So you want to disengage the clutch, right? Make sure the chute is clear, right? You don't want to have something in the middle of the chute when you start the chipper up. It's going to blow that out. That being said, you want it to be pointed in the right direction, right? When you start it up, you want to have that chipper chute pointed in the direction that you want to have your chips go. Everything needs to be locked and bolt secured, right? I mean, you want your trunk closed before you take off out of the parking lot. Those types of things. The hoppers, they need to be clear, and there's no tools. Somebody didn't set their gloves on the hopper, right? So check the hopper before you start it, because as soon as you start it, it's going to suck that stuff up in there. So all these are things that, going back to earlier slides too, don't be complacent in those things. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to all of those. So close and secure the access panels and guards used for maintenance and adjustment, including the discharge chute and cutter housing. Okay. Access panels should not be opened until the engine and all moving parts have come to a complete stop and the ignition key has been removed. Okay. Pay attention to those two. So starting the chipper, okay. Idle the engine to warm it up, okay, and then slowly engage the clutch, raise the engine RPM to a full throttle, and check the operation of the feed bar and the hydraulic feed wheels, okay. You need to know those. Pay attention to those. Before you start it, idle it up, let it warm, Okay, start it up, let it warm up, engage the clutch. That's going to start the wheel. Okay, then push your throttle in, right? And then you check the operation of that feed bar. Put that feed bar up, down, whatever the case is, then that should engage that feed wheel. Okay. An operational check of the chipper safety devices should be done prior to chipping brush. So you need to double check it, right? Just kind of like we do with any of the other equipment that we've gone over. Operating the chipper. Always feed material from the side of the in-feed hopper, right? So you never stand behind it. The hopper is here, you're feeding stuff in it, you always stand to the side and feed this stuff in, okay? Feed it from the side so you can avoid being hit by the flow of the material into the hopper. If you're behind it, next guy's pushing stuff in, next guy's pushing stuff in, eventually someone's gonna get something caught, shirt, glove, arm, whatever the case is, right? Eventually some things, bad things will happen, okay? So you stand to the side, you feed it in, next guy comes up, he feeds in on the side too, wait for you to get out of the way. Brush and log shall be fed into the chippers, the butt end first, right? So don't try to get these big branches and shove them into the hopper, right? The easiest thing to do is take the one that's been cut, shove it in, and it'll pull the rest of that stuff in. Small branches shall be fed into chippers, chippers. With longer branches or pushed with a long stick or a tool design, okay? So don't use your hand, right? You can get another stick, push that other stuff in there, let it get into the feed wheel, and then it'll suck it in there, but use a tool for it, use a stick for it, okay? Stacking brush, don't create a hazard. If it's not being chipped immediately, stack the brush to work so the work area remains clear. Make it easy to feed into the chipper and the butt end towards the hopper. Okay, so you just want to keep it clean, keep it neat, stack it up decent. Sounds like a pain, but it's really not a pain because it makes it easier when you're feeding the chipper in. Okay, plus it keeps the area safe. Okay, feeding the brush. Always feed the large or the butt end of the branches into the chipper first. Okay, and what you've been cutting goes in first. It pulls the rest of that loose, limby, leafy stuff in after it. You don't have to worry about fighting with that. It's easier to grab it by the butt end, sticker. It doesn't have all the leaves and the branches and the twigs on it. Get that in there, get it started, allow that chipper to suck that thing in there, and pull it in there to chip it up. The feed wheels will open and to allow a smoother operation. Okay, feeding the wrong way, branches can get wedged and they'll catch on the edges of the feed chute. Okay, so it's just, you just don't want to be trying to put a big branch with a whole bunch of leaves through a small hopper. I mean, that's a lot of work to try to scrunch it up in there. And if you're doing that, you're exposing your limbs, your arms, your fingers into that hopper closer to try to corral it in, to shove it in that way. Just turn the thing around, shove it in there, let the chipper do the rest. Okay, avoid contaminated brush and logs. Make sure all the ropes are off of it, all the tree harness stuff is off of it. Keep in mind, you put something that has a piece of metal on it, whatever the case may be, through that chipper, that chipper's chewing it up and spitting it out. So, I mean, a piece of metal spit through that chipper could easily puncture or go into the vehicle. Worst case scenario, can poke a hole into whatever the back of the dump truck is. All those types of things. Very dangerous with that. The wood is not. It's lighter. It's not going to do that type of thing. But if you put a piece of metal, something hard through there, it's going to shoot it out. Just like a bullet, right? I mean, it could puncture wherever that chipper is pointed to. All right, chipper maintenance. Okay. When we're talking about chipper maintenance, on this stuff, these are things that you're going to do in the field during the day, okay, to keep the machine operating, like clearing a jam. Okay, that's what we're talking about when we're doing maintenance. Not talking about oil changing, those types of things. Hazardous energy. Okay, this is a little tricky too. I have to kind of help you out a little bit. But just kind of pay attention to what it is. Okay, hazardous energy can be electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, chemical, and thermal. Okay, mechanical energy is most common with brush chippers. Okay, it's the potential of what energy is, right? So the energy is uh, in that drum, in that wheel, um, in that disc, all those types of things. That's where the energy is, and that energy is getting ready to happen when you turn it on and you feed in that brush. Okay. The danger with the release of the stored mechanical energy when working on a chipper. Okay, that's the danger of that release, right? So the release is when it starts moving. Okay, kind of like a mousetrap, right? So the danger isn't while it's set. Okay, I mean the danger is when it's set, but the danger really comes when you set it off, right? So it's that mechanical energy when it's ready to release, right? So when the mousetrap is done, there's no energy there anymore. It's already done. It can't do any more harm. Okay, so the mechanical energy on that chipper is when you turn that chipper on and you put a log through it, it's going to start chewing it up. Okay, so that's what that is. Kind of a test question. Not kind of, is a test question. But I made it pretty easy for you. So you're welcome. Securing equipment. Turn it off. Remove the keys. Um, make sure the rotating parts are at rest. Okay. Shut down by normal procedures. Key ignitions must be working properly. Remove the key and put it in your pocket. Disconnect the battery if you don't have a key. The idea is just make sure that there's no potential for that chipper to mechanically start again, right? So do everything you can for that to happen. Okay, then if things need to be raised, you need to properly secure it by jacking it or slaying. And those flywheels and the drums, those things need to be blocked. Okay, so if you're clearing that jam and you need to open up the hood of that thing, that's where you need to make sure things are blocked, because if you open something up or you pull something out, whatever the case is, that's still going to have that rotation possibility. So that's what you're trying to avoid. Okay. Hydraulic leaks. Do not go near hydraulic leaks. Do not use your fingers or your skin to check them. Okay, because they're hot, right? So if that chipper's been running, any piece of equipment for that matter, and it has a hydraulic, so it's that hydraulic fluid, it's hot. Okay, so you need a little hint. You can hold a piece of paper or cardboard near the suspected leak, see if it's leaking. Okay, it'll obviously pull up on that piece of paper. Restoring equipment to service. Check for loose bolts, the tools, ensure all the guards are back in place, confirm the controls are in neutral, just like we said when we were starting it up. Place the key back in the ignition and notify the employees when the equipment is ready for use. Okay, so once you've fixed it, and you're going to put it all back together, you just need to kind of go back to the beginning, right? Make sure everything is tight, locked down, in neutral, keys in the right spot, and you let people know we're getting ready to do it again. Okay, never turn the cutting system manually unless the ignition is shut off and the key is removed. Okay, you may have to turn it manually in order to unstick a branch or a log or whatever the case is. So you might not, you might have to take your block out of it, you may have to take your wedge out of it to do that. But don't do it with your hands, do it with a stick or a tool, okay? Make sure the belts have proper tension, check the engine fan for cracks. Those are things that you can visibly see, those types of things. Okay, if the chipper sounds as if it's not working properly, shut it down immediately and seek help from a qualified mechanic. So if something's not right, this kind of goes for everything, but a chipper too, right? Because we're talking about chippers. If something isn't right, doesn't sound right, sounds weird, it's better to be safe than sorry, okay? I mean, your mechanic may make fun of you when you bring it back and there's nothing wrong with it, or it may be a loose screw on the side that was rattling and you've never heard it do that before. But at the end of the day, everybody's safe, everybody's good, no harm, no foul. imagine if you don't go back and you don't check it and there's something is wrong, and then we cause damage to a vehicle, a person, property, whatever the case may be, and then you say, gee whiz, why didn't you check it? Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you do this? Well, I just thought it was a loose screw. I didn't think anything of it. So, all those things can go back and forth. So you just need to pay attention, know the proper sound of it, know when it doesn't sound right, all those types of things. Okay, it's another one out of the book, little picture. You got your climbing line in there, your brush, make sure you got your stuff out of there, right? Clean it up. Don't put any debris in there. Don't put the climbing line in there. Whether it messes up the chipper or it shoots it out like a bullet, either way, it's not going to be good, okay? It's not just rope. You got ropes too, right? There's all kinds of things. Ropes, tarps, all kinds of different things that can go up in there. You got this guy's dragging his tarp to get the brush in there. It's just part of it, okay? Here's a picture of the guy down here at the bottom trying to shove all of this stuff in here at one time. Get it in there with what you can. Push it in there with another stick, whatever the case is. You putting your face all up in there. It's not going to be a good outcome. All right, using the chipper's winch. That's the last chapter. Some chippers will have a winch on it, so you can pull a large log up to the chipper and get it chipped. Something that you can't carry can also be used when you don't have a piece of equipment around. All those types of things. Okay, so when you're using a winch, not only on a chipper, these are things that can happen, right? So serious accidents can happen. The winch line can get caught and fed into the chipper. Metal hardware at the end of the winch line can recoil at a high speed. The winch can be overloaded, and the metal hardware at the end of the winch is fed into the chipper. Okay. So all these things, just pay attention. Test question 2 can happen when you're using that winch. Okay, so don't overload it. Don't think that it's not breakable. All those types of things. Whether your actual cable doesn't break, the hooks on the ends, the latches on the ends, all those things can break just like the cable can. Just because the cable's not breaking doesn't mean those things won't break, and vice versa, right? Those things may not break and the cable may break. So all those things to think about. Winch systems shall be used only as an intended and instructed by the manufacturer. So once again, pay attention to the what's the word I'm looking for? The instruction manual. It's my mind here. Instruction manual, for lack of the proper thing that slipped my mind. But pay attention to what they're recommending and what it's intended for. Okay, from the manufacturer, not from Joe Jimmy or your mechanic or whatever the case is. It's actually in the instruction manual, that type of thing. Okay. Inspect the winch line and the fasteners before each use. Okay, check it out. Make sure it's right. Make sure there's nothing that you can visibly see. Just like if you were going to use a rope for climbing trees or pulling trees in directions, whatever the case is, inspect the rope, right? Make sure there's not a big fray in there. You don't want to be climbing up a tree with a big fray in a rope. You wouldn't use it. You'd get another one. Same thing with the winch line. Damaged and defective lines shall be immediately removed from service. The chipper must be attached to the tow vehicle when the winch is in use. Okay. Set the parking brake and shock the wheels. All things to pay attention to, right? You want the chipper hooked up to something else if it's pulling a log that you can't even move by yourself. Okay, that's going to pull. The force of that is going to pull that chipper. So you need to make sure that it's properly chopped, parking brake is on, all those types of things, hooked up properly. Okay, using the chipper's winch. Again, the tow vehicle should never be used to pull the winch line and attach the load. Okay, so don't hook the winch line up to the vehicle so the vehicle can pull more than the winch line. that can break. Pull loads from the side requires special equipment and techniques. Okay, so if you're going to pull your chipper's here and it's not directly behind you, and it's going to pull you're going to pull it from the side, right? If you do that, what's going to happen? Your chipper is going to want to move to that direction, right? So there's a way to do it, but you need to be trained for it in that aspect, okay? Because you need to have the right angles. So 6 steps to use your winch, okay? Deploy the winch line, hook up the limb, winch the limb to the chipper until the butt end of the limb is resting on the tray feed. Slacken the winch line, reattach it further down the limb, okay? Winch the limb until the butt end engages in the feed rollers, okay? Stop the feed rollers, detach the stow on the winch line, and chip the limb, okay? So basically, hook up your tree, bring it up to the chipper, unhook the winch line again, get the piece of wood up onto the chipper rollers, okay? Take your winch line off and then chip it, okay? Oh, is it gonna work? Turn that one down. All right, let me see. Okay, so this is our chipper. A little different than the ones that we saw previously. Okay, this kind of works off of the tractor, is a PTO. It's not going to chip very much. I would be surprised if it chipped that. That looks like a 4-inch, 3-inch caliper, something. We'll see. But basically, what our chipper will do is we'll be able to feed stuff into that hopper, and it should pull it. It should pull it into the chipper and chip it up. Okay. So if the end of this branch or stick had a bunch of trees on it, or a bunch of limbs with leaves on it and things like that, it should pull that into the hopper, okay? Now, this is the size of our chipper. There's only going to be so much large items that we're going to be able to get in there, but that's what we're working with when we have our lab, okay? And then I have another link. I'm not going to go through this. This is, I think, about a 30-minute video, but it was pretty neat video on chipper safety. I can't remember. I think it's Vermeer. Vermeer is Vermeer's a pretty well-known chipper manufacturer. So, they have their own safety video, their own type of equipment. See how he's feeding things from the side and moving. He has his equipment on, all those types of things. He has a pickup truck in that video. There's an idea with the winch log. Just thought it was a good video to attach to the slides. You guys take some time, take a look at it. It's pretty resourceful. I'm not going to go through it. We're not going to watch it, but I hope you guys find it useful. Sorry. All right, our discussion question for the week, due on the 25th. List 2 or 3 most important thoughts, parameters, things. Kind of trying to cover all the bases there. List 2 or 3 things that you will have to determine what type of chipper you would buy for your business. Okay, so list the 2 or 3 things that are going to go through your mind when you are looking to purchase a piece of a chipper as a piece of equipment. Okay, just what are you looking for? Is it the drum? Is it the disc? Is it the size? Is it whatever the case is? Are you not wanting to get something too large because you're scared of your employees doing too much? And we'll call a tree company for that type of thing. Whatever the case is, I want you to think about a couple different things that are going to be important when you're making a decision to purchase a chipper. And let's share those. And then remember to comment as well. So it's a good discussion to get into. Be interesting to see everybody's different ideas and thoughts and what are similar as well. That's all I got for this week. That's the chipper operation. Start working on the quiz in the back. That due date is coming up in March. Other than that, I'll see you in lab on Monday.